You know, if someone's close enough to effectively be here, but they can't because of relocation, especially now, we're not out of the woods yet as far as the real estate market. I just think we have to be willing to consider it. I certainly would like to hear comments from, you know, I know there's some folks that are here now that did abide by that policy, and maybe they wouldn't have had we not had that policy. And for that, you know, but doggone it, if you get to a point and you think there's a better way to do something, then, you know, then you got to be willing to consider it.
Right. And on that note, I must say that the employees, myself included, knew up front that there was a residency policy. So if you're speaking of the ones that were already here, that impacted, I understand that.
Well, I think it's important we get the best quality candidates we can. So sometimes somebody does live in New Hanover County that couldn't move here for whatever reason, or maybe Onslow County. But yeah, I think it's time to remove that. I think we need to get the best quality candidates we can, and to help that come along, I think that would help. Yeah.
Does any other commissioner have any comments or concerns or anything they'd like to add to this?
I think this is a tough one. It's I did understand why the policy was put in place. I think it had a usefulness to the commissioners that were sitting here at the time. They wanted the department heads to live within the county, and I think that was a fair request to make. It put some folks under some hardship to comply with that, and those are the ones that I feel bad for right now, the ones that actually complied with that, and it may have cost them money, or they had to sell their home for maybe less money than they wanted to go ahead and sell it and buy to come into the county. I personally don't have a problem with this relaxing that. It's whatever the board wants to do. I'll support the board either way, but I'm in agreement with Mr. McCoy at this point. I think we tried it, and I don't think there's a place for it right now. Just the best that I don't know how else to describe it. I think we probably need to just move on, and I would personally apologize for the folks that the policy may have created some hardship for. I don't know what else to say to it.
I think you said it well.
Mr. McCollum, you said that this was being done because you were having difficulties in recruiting for a position. Is that correct?
Correct.
So are we doing this for one position?
No, absolutely not.
I was just trying to decipher what I heard.
Okay. Well, I did mention the one position because to be honest, we have not had, since I've come on board, we haven't had any other department head positions open, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the first one.
Well, I certainly have voted in the minority before and certainly respect these gentlemen's opinion. But I championed this ideal, I think, shortly after coming on the board in 2008. And then again, whenever the revisions were made. And I certainly don't waver in my decision then. I believe if Pender County is good enough for you to make money and earn your salary, it's good enough for you to live in the county as well. And that goes for all of us. And I think that is certainly true. Our department heads, and when I read the background information provided, and I certainly think that holds true for Pender County populace. A pool of professional talent residing in the county, that certainly could be true for us here in Pender as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that if folks are paid, department heads at the higher pay rate, they certainly ought to move here and to live in the county they're working in, so they'll have an opportunity to interact with the citizens who are paying them their salaries. That was my opinion 08 and 12, and I don't waver usually, so I'll stand by it.
I respect that opinion, Mr. Tate, for sure.
Well, you don't really have to, but I appreciate you doing it.
No.
I mean,
hey, this doesn't guarantee anything either. You know, so there's no crystal ball. You know?
I just hope by changing this, we have a whole floodgate of applicants. I just sit and vote and watch.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Mahalo, you did say that since 2012, how many department heads have we had to hire?
One, and
One.
now two. I believe, like I said, myself included, I came on board 1/2 of 13, and I cannot think of another department head
Okay.
that we have hired since then.
So based on this information here that you're requesting, I'm just trying to help myself out on this one. And I'm gonna piggyback on what Mr. Tate says. It's not based on one position.
Correct, absolutely
Okay.
correct. This is for future department head positions. And we're talking, there are 16 department head positions that this affects currently.
Mhm.
So this policy virtually affects 16, actually 18 people, which would include or I should say 17, the county manager, which is normal across the board from what I've seen in all the counties.
Okay.
The only reason where the county managers aren't included, the county manager would be required to do it.
Correct. County manager is not included in this.
Is all our department head living in the county at this time?
As of right now, the department heads must live within the county unless they were hired prior to
To 2012.
2008.
Okay. And we haven't had nobody new. Okay.
No.
All right, good enough. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, we entertain a motion on item number 11.
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Have a motion from Mr. McCoy.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second by Mr. Brown. All in favor, please raise your hand. I think, all opposed? I think carried 3-2, and I hope we're right. Don't know. I hope we're right. Item number 12, resolution authorizing approval of budget appropriation for, excuse me, debt service payments on Shell Building loan, and resolution authorizing purchase order to 4-county EMC for loan payments. Mr. Apple,
Good afternoon.
welcome to the podium.
Thank you. Back in 2010, the county entered into an agreement to borrow $500,000 interest-free for part of the cost of constructing the Shell building. And the agreement called for the payback of the principal to begin in August of this year, August of 2014, with 84 monthly payments of $5,952.38. And these 11 payments for this fiscal year were not included in the budget. So this resolution, I'm asking for this resolution to approve appropriating that money from fund balance for these debt service payments. I'm glad to answer any questions you might have.
Well, I know that you have been very busy getting some things straight and in order, and I believe this is one of them that you realize we have to take care of, and then we have to build that monthly payment into next year's budget during the process. It was not done, just wasn't done. How about that for this budget this year? But it is a good interest-free loan from 4 counties, so I do want to send thanks out for them on this. But the agreement says we need to pay it now. Anybody have any comments or questions they'd like to add to this?
Seems to me like this has really become, in my opinion, a white elephant, this building. Concerns me a lot, but I understand the past, though.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, we entertain a motion for item number 12.
Yeah, I was getting ready to make a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr.
I'm
You
sorry.
didn't speak up. I didn't.
No, I'm not gonna make the comment I wanted to make, but I do want to say that I appreciate you bringing it to us. I'm a little perplexed how, I guess this is one of the examples of the things that just weren't, a little bit of business that wasn't taken care of. I thought this would have been appropriated in in our budget. I don't know how it got overlooked, but I guess there were a few things overlooked. Whether I supported the project or not, it's an agreement we went into. Mr. McCoy, I know exactly how you feel, but it is an agreement we went into, and we're going to honor that agreement. And so, with that being said, I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, if you want the motion. at
Yes,
this
sir.
point,
Have a
to
motion on
approve
the
this
floor
item.
for Item number 12, we have a motion. Looking for a second. I'm in the chair. I cannot make a motion or second a motion.
I'll say we got it, that's the agreement's been made, we have to make it. So.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Unanimous.
If I could add,
Or did you, go ahead, sir. Did you vote? I thought you did. Yes, sir, Mr. Apple.
if I could add, just so that when I come back later, you won't say I didn't tell you. Unfortunately, there were 2 loans for that shell building, and had to get this one in on this agenda because the payments, have started. There's going to be also a need for some additional appropriation for that other loan.
That was
also.
not put in the budget.
Correct. So just want to let you know.
How much was the additional loan?
Well, both loans, this loan was 500, I think the other one was 600 and some thousand, and there were funds left from the project itself that some of that has been paid from, and I can't give you an exact figure right now of how much is going to be needed in this fiscal year for that loan, but
So one was 500,000 and one was 600,000.
yes.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, the other one, the 600,000 was, I think it was the Department of Commerce, is that what it said? There is interest on that loan, and the way I think it was set up was that for the first 2 years you paid interest on the loan, and then you started paying principal after that.
All right, what is the building currently being utilized for?
I think the building is vacant.
No,
It is vacant.
It's still in the shell form.
Okay,
Yes.
how long has it been vacant? Since the duration of the project?
Since it was completed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
2010, I know, 11.
Roughly 3 to 4.
3 to 4 years.
I don't remember exact completion date.
Because I remember coming on and it was just getting going good. A lot of rain delayed some of the construction, but it was built around 2011. Because I remember.
Got
questioning.
finished in about 3 years ago. Yeah.
I do have a question, and I don't know who this can go to. I know the interim managers, I don't know how long he'll be here or for someone. And this I'll look at. And maybe I just throw my comment. And I didn't mean to interrupt, but I know you were saying something about the second. Well, you finished. I didn't
Yes,
mean
I'm
to interrupt because I know this. Is that hooked up with electricity or anything over there? Is it already that you can go in there and electricity is already, can be powered on in there? In other words, that's not an empty building right now. I mean, I know it's an empty building.
Yeah. What it is, it's a shell building, and it's building construction to show if somebody was coming to an area and they want it on a really fast pace. You have a shell building, and if they have specifications, all the permitting and things are done for the most part, and you come in, then you finish the inside of the building. So from the outside of the building, it looks like it's, ready, industrial, go site, and then you finish the building per spec for whoever agrees to buy it from you.
Okay.
And so primarily it's been a tool to get people to come in and look.
I was talking to this commissioner from another state, went to a conference a while back, and he shared this idea of how they was in a predicament and had a building like this. And they offer this idea back to farmers that was in the area, and they use this building as a hub. So all the extra they have, all the farmers in, I guess it was a big rural area, they would take all their goods or whatever and bring it to this building and give some alternative to local restaurants and grocery stores to buy local. And what I'm trying to say is there's some way that it can be utilized, period. If it's just like a rec center, it's just like if anything for the children, can it be somewhat that we don't have to put so much in it, like someone can use this without adding more to it, if you understand my drift. Like a livestock, what you call them in Duke, livestock yard or whatever. What I'm just trying to say, can it be utilized?
Well, I'm pretty new, but let me give you a shot at an answer, just something to think about. I don't think you would want to do anything that would effectively take that building even temporarily off the market. As the chairman said, it's there, it's a completed shell building. You know, with whatever upfitting is required, it's ready for a client to take over and operate a business. And I don't think you'd want to do anything that would you know, hinder that would delay its availability or in any way make it less marketable. It might even be that if you have something in there using it as a warehouse function or whatever else, you know, someone may not see all the possibilities of the building when it's filled up with whatever stuff, as opposed to you know, being a vacant building. So again, the only thing I understand the thought, but I think, you know, for that to remain active on the market and totally available, so that you can say to prospective purchasers or tenants that it's immediately available, I think it's probably in the best shape right now to do that.
But that's where I'm scared at, because it's been out there in the market and there's nothing there. I mean, I don't even know if anybody came up to us and said anybody was looking at it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
We hadn't had an update in a while, but I'll get you an update. But when we agreed to build this thing, it was a partnership with us, Pender Progress, Fort County EMC, a lot of players involved. Economy hadn't quite done what the economy has done. Like worst depression, you know, worst economy since the Depression.
I can tell you that,
you know, the activity has picked up, but I can actually get you a site visit report. You know, part of the pitch was, you know, through the folks we worked with at WBD, was there's some good, the odds increase that even if you get somebody to come in to look at a shell building, and there's people that you can make arguments against them too, so there's good arguments both ways, that even if you get them, they come in, even if they don't take you up on that offer, you've bought them into the area to look, and they may wind up coming somewhere in our zone, if you will.
I think in this kind of down economy, shell buildings that were built, you know, right at the time that the economy was tanking, they required some patience, I think. I know in the county from which I came, we did 5 shell buildings. The first 4 went pretty quickly. We had the bad timing of completing one in about 2008 as the economy was going in the tank. It's only been within the past 6 months that shell building has moved. But you know, having a shell building available, there is no better marketing tool or competitive advantage out there than having a building that's ready to go.
When you say we're in the right direction, in other words, are we doing something, or do we need to do something different that your county was doing in the past that we are not doing, that we might need to take?
Well, I think you know, the Department of Commerce, I'm sure, is aware of its existence, and a lot of leads come from Commerce. I'm sure our economic development agency is aware of it and is marketing it, and so you know, there's a certain inevitability that it's going to go, hopefully sooner rather than later. But you know, back to the original point, I think it would probably hurt the marketing of that building if you were to look for some alternative use.
Well, we'll get you a little update from WVD on how many visits over time, et cetera, what happened, so forth. That's certainly pretty easy to get to you.
Another issue, Commissioner Ward, if I may, Mr. Chairman, is that it's in the town of Burgaw and it's zoned industrial, so some uses probably wouldn't be permitted. No, sir, I understand exactly what you're saying, but yeah, for instance, I doubt a rec center would be permitted.
Instead of just sitting there and paying the payment.
Right. No,
that's it. That's all I was saying.
Yes,
I mean, put heads together and figure out something.
I don't want to get into the politics of it. My concern tonight is that I remember talking with past staff on this, so it was on the radar. I'm just trying to figure out why it's on the agenda to be paid for. And nothing against you guys, because you're doing exactly what you need to do. What I mean is this should have been taken care of back at budget time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Apple. We appreciate what you're doing over there. You're working under the radar, but I know you're busy, and thanks for the update, by the way, that we got, things that are going on Friday. I think you saw it come through Friday from Mr. Apple via Mr. Murphy. Next on here, we have item 13, resolution authorizing approval of a 1-year purchase order to Central Carolina Tire for tire hauling and disposal. Mr. Mack, podium is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioners, you may remember I brought this to you about a month ago at the August 4th meeting. This was for our annual scrap tire removal program through that vendor. There were some questions. I think Commissioner McCoy had a question or two about that, and I was a little confused. I didn't have the numbers at hand, so I went back and you know, I brought this information back. The better news that I've brought back is that we're fully reimbursed for all expenses. I confused this. We have a white goods reimbursement, white goods disposal tax reimbursement. We did not receive a year's worth of those because of the audit. It did not affect the scrap tire grant. So we get 100% of this money back.
And I think that was one of the questions I had for you, was how much do we actually get back? Because I know when you go to a tire dealer for a set of tires,
That's
you have
right.
to pay that fee,
That's
just
right.
like you do for appliances.
Right.
And I was just wondering how much of that did we get back to help pay for this?
Was-
But for what I read that was in here, it looks like you're getting a 100% reimbursement.
It all comes back. I mean, we're only paying what it's costing them to haul out, and we're getting all of it back in the disposal. Plus, my staff applies for scrap tire reimbursement grants. That's how we were able to acquire some of the collection facilities that we actually, you know, use for that. So, Central Carolina is 100% paid by the state's reimbursement of that. We get it every quarter. And so that's why at one time, the last snapshot was we hadn't gotten our fourth quarter reimbursement, so the budget looked weird. But well, I've affirmed we are fully recovered in this, and it's not an expense that goes forward towards our ratepayers.
That's good.
What do they do with those tires? Do they recycle them?
Yeah, they grind them up, and they have different byproducts from that, but most of them go back into like an asphalt product. A lot of your high school and tracks and all that, they have these softer compound because they've got the rubber byproduct in it. So I think that's mostly where they go back to, is something that's a petroleum fuel derivative, much like the tire itself.
And there's some smaller power plants that can burn it too, but I think that proved to be a lot tougher on the facilities, existing facilities when they were burning the tires.
Probably got pollution.
Well, they had that
controls
part
with that.
covered, but it's tough on all the other
I
stuff.
think you all put one out there in Mr. Tate's area, right?
Yep,
Okay.
What was that?
The tire, we're talking about the
tire collection areas.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's worked real well.
In that case, we're looking for a motion.
Disposable of the tires have worked well.
Yes, sir.
Good.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second Mr. Brown's motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Mack.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Mack, you got the podium again, don't you?
Yeah,
Res-
it's the mini Mac
Resolution
show here.
authorizing approval of Pender County contractor pre-qualification policy and a project-specific contractor pre-qualification application for Pender County Utilities wastewater treatment plant, Phase 2. Mr. Mack, that was a mouthful.
Yeah.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before you proceed, I do want to thank Mr. Brown for his leadership in helping us get that tire out in the Willard area. Thank you.
It's worked well thank you, Mr. Tate. It has worked well for Rocky Point. A lot of folks use it. So it's keep some out of the ditches in the woods.
Well, that's
you know?
what we started to discover too. Again,
Yeah.
as long as we can recover it without having to push it out the ratepayers. You remember, we closed, 8 sites a number of years back, because we used to take it at all of them, and it got cost prohibitive. But I think we've got a good mix out there now. We haven't gotten any comments, or complaints versus, it seems to,
Appreciate you putting
the
all
Willard
these
ones
waste
seem to have
sites.
finished the puzzle. Sir?
Appreciate you keeping all this waste sites graded too. I don't have any calls, used to have calls for potholes, but now to keep it graded good, so
We're trying.
I appreciate that.
We're trying.
And we'll be looking for an update on the Hampstead convenience site, but that's another meeting, another day. But,
May.
yeah,
It's still the schedule for completion.
gotcha.
May.
All right. That's on the record.
The matter at hand right now, gentlemen, we have always, even before my tenure here, believed in a pre-qualification requirement. My philosophy is that anything that's going to bid and be over $1 million, I want the contractors pre-qualified. We don't want the new kids on the block or some startup business coming in and getting a job and then it just turning out to be a disaster. For the wastewater treatment plant, especially with the Phase 2, we did pre-qualify contractors in November of last year. In anticipation of these contracts coming, and it was actually, we saw Phase 1, Phase 2 splitting and becoming two actual construction phases. So we had done a pre-qualification of the contractors who would be eligible to bid the wastewater treatment plant phase 2 in November. And they were, you know, some didn't make it. We had, I believe it was 4 didn't make it. We had 8 or 9 that were approved. We have criteria, scoring matrix, weighted average, things like that.
Can I, I don't want to delay this, but could you explain to me and for others that may wonder too, what criteria do you look for in pre-qualification in this process?
Okay, and in this particular agenda item, you'll notice there are 2 that I brought before you.
Yeah.
And Trey can help with this. There was a session law that came out this summer and then said, because in fairness to general contractors who weren't able to get qualified and they couldn't get an answer why they didn't get qualified, they wanted a more formal policy. They wanted the boards to adopt the policy that says, here's our general one. When anytime we might need a GC, we're going to use this one. But if you've got a project specific and you want to list the criteria that you're going to use to qualify the contractors, you must have a specific pre-qualification. So every general contractor knows where those bars are and what those requirements are, and then you must also show them how you score that. And that's why tonight I'm asking you to consider 2 policies. One is a general pre-qualification policy, and I think in your background information it should show you that. We look for responsiveness. We look for similar jobs. We look for successful jobs. We don't want a contractor who's been run off of 2 jobs. We want to know that they have the financial capabilities to bond the job, $10, $20 million. You need to, you know, make sure your sureties and your banks with this firm are solid. Safety. Safety is always an important factor. We don't want somebody just trying to cut their teeth on our job. That doesn't usually go well. So the qualifications, again, are listed in there. The contractors that we send these to know what we're looking for, and they know how we score it.
The reason I ask you that
Yes?
is because I saw what you put in here.
Yes.
But I think there could be a misconception by some folks as a way of eliminating certain individuals, and that's not what this is about. I like some of the information you're asking for here,
Right.
because it gives you a clear picture of who you're dealing with here
Correct.
and what their capabilities are.
Yeah, and Trey may allude to it if he saw the House bill coming through. I think that's why this became a legislative action, that some felt that some groups, municipal governments, counties or whatever, were using this to set people aside because they didn't have to justify why they didn't get picked. So now they all know, you know, what the scores are, what the responsiveness, and they're going to know when they submit whether they made it or not. You know, quite honestly, when you see all this, at least this law gives them a chance to say, well, why did you only score us a 3 on similar experiences or similar jobs? Everyone is now on the same sheet of music. We would have to, we'd be at risk if we disqualified a contractor because of something that they didn't score well on or something like that. So it kind of leveled the playing field. The problem with us is we already had done this before the session law came up. We aren't to bid yet. We're very soon to bid for phase 2. It's actually being submitted to EDA for their concurrence this week. This is part of it, the pre-qualification, because there's no way you would be able to award the construction contract prior to October 1, which is the deadline of this session law. So being that we can't get there, I wanted to go ahead and do this anyhow. We're not trying to beat the deadline or anything else. We're going to go back out and pre-qual the contractors for phase 2. So I don't know if I'm answering your questions, but there's 2 before you tonight. One's general, and one is specifically to that wastewater treatment plant. We need to make sure that these folks have a track record, have dealt with these type of plants, have the labor force, have the safety records, that they get done. And you know that this is, you know, needs to be timely. We don't want to get into a contractor who's in litigation matters, you know, or whose bonds are tied up.
And you cleared it up. I just wanted people to understand that this, for people that may not be looking at what we're looking at, it is not a way to eliminate anyone. It's a way for us to clearly see the track record of the folks you're considering.
That's correct. And quite honestly, the ones that get pre-qualified, then they know who the players are when it's time to actually place the bids.
Puts a lot of transparency out there.
It does.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
even among the contractors. So it's always I think it's always a betterment to do this. One, again, you don't take the risk of setting yourself up for Joe Q low bid, who is no more prepared to handle the job than I am, or you then all have kind of the same level contractors bidding on the same project.
Mr. Chair, yeah, go ahead. I would just ask, Mr. Attorney, you pretty much read all this.
Yes, sir. In fact, Mr. Murphy had Mr. Mike forward it to me last week, and I reviewed it, and I wanted to commend Michael for getting this out in advance so that we had, had time to review it, get it to the board and get it in place so that we can get the pre-qual going. And not trying to beat the deadline or play games with that. That this is much the better way to do it.
And I was just more looking at it, and it is a policy. I was thinking about what Commissioner Brown said, which was a good point. You know, wanting nothing, it's not like a contract, but it's just a policy for us to go about. Okay.
And we've pre-qualified on other jobs, but you've never been asked to adopt the pre-qualification policy.
Yeah.
You know, you've just left it to me to know what I'm asking for. The Topsail School, that was a pre-qualified project.
Yeah, I'm like,
But we
I
didn't come
want
and
nobody
say
to
define
oh,
the
you
policy.
eliminate me out of the deal, but
Yeah.
it's not that.
Right.
Which was good. I'm good.
From a vendor point of view, I'm make sure I'm clear here. I don't do business in the water and wastewater industry, but in industrial arena and other things, I'd love to know who all the who was qualified if I was bidding against.
Yep.
I mean,
Saves you a few phone calls, huh?
You know, you don't. People try to beat spec all the time and throw in something cheap. That as long as it gets past that year warranty, they're good to go. So I think it's good all the way around.
Yeah. Again, I believe in the philosophy. This just had a different level when the state wants us to follow a certain level of criteria and bring it to you for adoption.
We adopted both of these in the same resolution? Is that what we're doing here tonight?
You can, or you can do it separately, but it's fine to do it in one.
Is there a need to separate it out?
No, I just wanted you to be cognizant of the fact that there are two policies we're asking you to adopt. The action says approval of the general pre-qualification policy and the project-specific contract pre-qualification. Just wanted you to be cognizant that there are two actually policies in front of you.
If you're ready for a motion.
Yes, sir. Chair, entertain a motion for item 14 as presented.
I will make the motion to approve.
Second by Mr. Ward. All in favor?
All right, these are going out on the streets this week, gentlemen. We're going out fishing again.
We are now the Central Pender Water and Sewer District. Mr. Mack.
Hello and welcome again. It has been a very good month for Pender County with our water and sewer districts. As you know, about a month ago, we got the letter of conditions from the USDA for the Morris Creek Water and Sewer District. Tonight, we have our wonderful USDA area specialist there, Stephen Smith, and Judy Hunt has joined him to bring you the letter of conditions for the Central Pender Water and Sewer District. Go through the history again. This was the ones that was GO bond approved in 2006. They were extended for 3 additional years to 2016. High-fill infrastructure, Mr. Ray Cox, raise your hand, Ray. He's been our engineer of record through this, done all the preliminary work, gone to all the public meetings with us, gone to all the sign-up public meetings that we've done. The team is in this room, Ms. Margaret Gray. The work is done. The letter of conditions has passed the muster of the USDA. And what Mr. Smith has brought to you is the letter of conditions for the Central Pender Water and Sewer District. And I'd like to point out, and Stephen may have a few words for it, this project was a little bit larger than the Morris Creek. Again, this one originally, the bond was smaller. This was a $27 million bonded project. But again, once we defined what was really out there and what the needs were, plus the Rocky Point system picked up some of them along 117, so that they don't have a need out there. But this letter of conditions tonight that USDA Rural Development has approved is there will be a loan of $6,047,000, a grant not to exceed $3,910,091. The county or the Pender County Utilities contribution in the amount of $81,700, which are the sign-up fees that people were paying, for a total project cost of $10,038,791. Gentlemen, this again is 40, almost 40% grant-funded project. So in the last 30 days, this gentleman has delivered nearly or over $7.5 million in USDA grant funding for these two districts. So
We need to bring him back more often.
I'll say, we'll give you a parking spot, you keep this up.
it's reserved in my parking spot, I'm telling you. It has been phenomenal. Like I said, this told you last time. They push us, but they push us to our betterment because they're up there fighting at the state level and the national level on our behalf. And I just personally want to thank Judy and Stephen because they do. They, I think, go above and beyond. I'd hate to think all their clients get handled with these kid gloves, but it's exceptional, and they really have advocated on our part, both at the state and national level. So I applaud their efforts and I'm very appreciative of it.
Let me ask you a question about like sign-ups on roads. With the road I live on, people got letters, and how many, you have to have a certain percent of people that are going to sign up for it on a road?
We're always looking for a goal because it is voluntary. And the number that's always been used while they developed the districts was they were looking for about 15 signups per mile. That's where the math works out. Yeah, but it's we're able to identify, and again, Ray has done this tremendously, and I think Margaret actually has the numbers in her head from because we were talking about earlier today about where the densities are. We can make this project successful. It will work. The signups are there and they're still coming, but it doesn't attribute to 15 per mile necessarily. I don't know that we've even looked at it in that application per se, but that was always a magic number that had worked in the past. Just that's where you kind of broke even. But this one is everything's shaped up to become definitely financially successful.
As some of these other projects have gone in the other districts, some people want to wait and see that pipe laying on the ground or pipe getting ready to go in the ground, and you're always going to pick up some residual.
We will get probably between 50 and another 150 signups on that bulldozer and that pipe shows up.
If you're in an area where the line is, you can always add on.
Okay.
But not that but
Right.
we have had projects where there was money at the end, and a street with 10 or 12 houses, they all got together and said, well, I guess we want to try to get on that. So there are exceptions.
No, and we
That
still
can happen.
to
May or may
this
not
day
be
still
able to
look at that if there's
I think you said
been additional
August
signups.
15th, you had to sign up for it.
We gave them a deadline because we've learned that I'm guilty of doing the same. We'll wait till the last minute. So we wanted to draw a line in the sand. So we told them prior to July 31, needed to to bring your money in. And there was 50 people a day came in the week of July 31st. They had been waiting to keeping their money in their bank account, not mine. But since that time, we're still accepting applications. We're still taking them at $120 until the project actually is bid and on the streets. It'll remain $120. We just had to give them a target to shoot for so that they didn't forget about it. So they're still trickling in, and again, there'll be a whole lot more. I believe when the pipe shows up on the bulldozer show. Oh, it's really going to happen. I need to hurry up and get down there. So.
Big question I have is sewer. People really are. I know that's going to be another issue.
That's a whole nother day.
Can this can our water districts be expanded from the traditional geographical boundaries?
Yes,
So
and that's
could-
something I think we want to look towards in the future. These are the ones that had the bond referendums, the GEO bond referendums approved, and this will be the fill of those. And as one didn't do that, but that doesn't mean we still can't do something there with revenue bonds. But these GEOs had a timeline, and so we wanted to move forward and quickly post haste. But
Right, I
yes,
understand
they
that.
may be massaged, and we will probably go back and try to do something in the Columbia Union District. Yes, sir.
Okay,
If that's where you were
that's
going.
specifically what I'm asking.
Yeah, I thought this might be where you're going. Yes.
Yeah, I don't politic anymore, I'm direct. So, other people gonna like me or
Yes,
not,
Ms.
I don't really- the point of it is, I'm trying to help those in a district who might not realize they need water, that they need water.
Yep. Well, again, that will be a different thing because it won't be GEO. We'll do that as a revenue. But I wanted to get these up and going, and then as time allows in the next year or two, we'll go out and look at how we can do that.
Well, you've
Because the
always
numbers will have to work with that one too.
you've always been very responsive, and I appreciate
And we
that.
continue, even at the public meetings, the sign-up meetings we had for these districts, we had folks from Union come in and saying, is there a chance, is there a chance? That's, yes, there's a chance. It just won't be with the GEO bonds.
Thank you, Michael.
Because, we did that one together in 2008. So.
I do, and I remember Mr. Brown and myself going to many meetings late in the evening and trying to, throughout the various areas, to try to get those to be passed. Back there, was doing on
Just the more difficult part will be that it's got to be revenue supported. And so they're really going to have to come up and, sign up so we can provide whoever the funder be. I mean, it may or may not be USDA or a bank loan. It's only going to be, the security will only be the pledge of revenue.
And I just wanted to say for USDA, a couple of Fridays ago, I had a few hours free, and I attended a USDA meeting that was held, and Mr. Gore was there, and he was the keynote speaker, Randy Gore. And I always shared our gratitude for how good USDA has been to Pender County. In my tenure on this board, you, Ms. Gray, and others have just been phenomenal in your services that you provided to Pender. And not just say it, but you certainly have delivered. And thank you all for advocating every day through Michael and his staff for the people of the districts. And I will share that message again.
So I guess we need.
Well, I'm just here to answer any questions. If you have any questions in regards to the conditions, I'm happy to try to answer them. It's very similar to what we were here last month, just a different district. Loan amount's a little bit different. They are very similar in grant. We try to keep them approximately 40% for the district. Interest rate on this one, the same as Morris Creek, is going to be 3.25. The repayment schedule is 40 years with the first 2 years of interest only. The second page of the packet has a breakdown of the $10 million cost. That's the estimated cost. Other than that, you got your conditions, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer. We do want to move as quickly as possible, try to get this bond referendum expires in a couple of years, so we want to get it developed. That's why we're pushing so hard to get it done.
We'll put Ray on point here.
You folks have always been very responsive and always taking a common sense approach and helping clear some of the red tape up for us that can bog us down some. I appreciate that. I know you guys got a long ride or got a ride to get home, so I'm not going to tie you up any more than that unless
Well,
somebody else.
we got a lot of questions answered when they came back before with the last one, and it's just the figures are a little different on this.
The figures and
Yeah.
the entity.
Right. We appreciate the help, and if you're ready, I'm ready to make a motion
Certainly.
to approve this item.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
We are now sitting as Scotts Hill Water and Sewer District. Mr. Mack.
Turn your hat, another quarter turn. Gentlemen, this item before you is a request by the Scotts Hill Water and Sewer District to accept the deed of dedication / bill of sale from Pender EMS and Fire Incorporated for the conveyance of title to a water distribution system that they installed to serve Fire Station number 18 on US 17. Our water and sewer ordinances require that if you so desire, Pender County Water Supply and improvements are necessary, that you will build them on your dime, and then you will dedicate them to the water district for the permanent maintenance of those improvements. And Mr. Sullivan and Pender EMS have done such. They have completed the proper documentation, the bill of sale, and the affidavit that there are no liens, that this is passing to the the Scotts Hill District, free and clear of encumbrances and liens. And I would ask that the Scotts Hill Water and Sewer District adopt the resolution accepting the bill of sale and the deed of dedication and affidavit for the water distribution improvements to serve Pender EMS and Fire Station number 18. Be happy to try to answer any questions.
Any commissioner have any questions or comments for item number 16? Only comment I would have is closer to opening the doors there, and I know a lot of folks are excited about that. So.
And 421 site's coming along very well, too.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Well, I would make the motion, but I know Mr. Tate is on that board if he would like to make the motion on this.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. You always think about me. I'll make that motion. Be glad to.
And I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Raise your hand. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We're now back as the Pender County Board of Commissioners. Item 17, appointments. I believe we have 3, if I'm not mistaken. A couple from over your way, if I believe, Mr. Tate. Go back in there.
Well, I don't know them, but they're from my district. That means they're good, so I'll make the motion.
Let me see here. We've got 3 different boards, if I'm not mistaken, so hold that thought, Mr. Tate.
You want to take them, you want to separate them out, or you want to one at a time?
And I'm good with all 3 appointments, if the board is good.
I'm good with that.
Ball's back in your court, Mr. Tate.
I will.
Some of your neighbors.
See, we have the 4 County Community Service Board, and then the next one,
Parks and Recreation,
Parks and Recreation Board.
Tourism.
And Tourism, yes.
As much as I want to have Maple Hill in my district,
That's
they're
right.
not in my
I was
district.
getting ready to say.
They're in Mr. Ward's district.
That's right.
He represents them better than I do, so I'll let him take that motion if he wants to. I'll be glad to. Some great folks as well.
I would say the same thing, since they come from me and Mr. Williams' district, I think they good.
That's right. Two
They
in
are
yours.
good.
Okay, we have,
They're as good as well.
okay, so everybody, we have the Tourism Board, we have Miss Baker from Burgall, and then back to the, back up here to this one. Parks and Recreation Board, we do have applicant from Maple Hill, I believe. Go back to it, hang on. I'm used to looking through my book, not scrolling as much. Yes, we have Alicia Bynum for the Parks and Recreation Board, District 2, which, yes, is Mr. Ward's district. I erred there, apologies. And the other one's 4 County Community Services, we have Felicia Watkins from Maple Hill. So if everyone's good with all 3, we've got that cleared up. Entertain a motion for all 3.
They're all good.
Mr. Ward has made that motion.
They're good for my,
I'll second.
The motion is second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. All 3 carried unanimously. Madam Clerk, thank you. Next on there, we have resolution changing appointment to the Coastal Care Area Board from a 2-year term to a 3-year term. Ms. Pridgen.
Okay, when Coastal Care was first formed, they had staggered terms. So when Mr. Hall's term expired and he was reappointed to a 2-year term, but I later found out that it should have been a 3-year term. So this is just to add another year to his term.
I think Mr. Hall was here. Mr. Hall, would you like to come up a minute? I think you are now the chair of that board, correct?
Yes, he is.
He's hiding on the back row just sitting Sunday.
The request is, according to our bylaws, in fact, I've got a copy of them here. And according to this, everyone on there serves for 3 years. We were the only exception here, which I think was a holdover from the days of the Southeastern Center. It really doesn't make a lot of difference. It's just to clean up our bookkeeping, basically. No changes or anything like that, so. But otherwise, but no, I came really just in case y'all needed anything from it.
Any other comments, questions from the board?
No, just, go ahead, Mr. Frank.
Oh, go ahead.
Ms. Tate?
Go ahead, Mr. Frank.
I was just going to say that Mr. Hall does us well to serve on this board and also on our ABC board. He's
He does it all.
very involved in our community, and I.
Yeah, those two are a conflict of interest, aren't they?
No comment. But we appreciate, I appreciate Mr. Hall. You all do know he's from Rocky Point, by the way. Okay.
Got to recognize your people when they're up here.
And remember, we need a commissioner.
Yes. Mr. Tate mentioned something to me
Yep.
about that the other day.
Mr. Chairman, I did step down off 2 boards, and I would volunteer to go on this board. I talked to Mr. Hall this past week or last week, and I would volunteer to go on this board.
Well, let's make the motion before Mr. Tate changes his mind. Not that you would, Mr. Tate.
Do we do we have some latitude with the boards, or do we actually have to add this item?
That, I think
Is
it's
it being
not for an
added?
appointment because that's no, sir, I don't think you need to have, I
Okay,
mean, you
so we
can
could-
if you want to, but
No,
I don't think, not
but as long as we
required
don't have to, let's just we can just make a
The
motion.
commissioner position's only open to 5 people. It's not like advertising for a commissioner would necessarily make a whole lot
I'd
of
kind of like to
sense.
grab him while he's willing.
Kinda
Yes,
my
sir.
take on
Yeah,
it.
and we are the only county without a commissioner on there right now, and there's things that come up such as pay plans and a couple of reports and things like that that the commissioner needs to sign. We had the bylaws changed to allow the county manager or assistant to serve on it as well. But commissioner would be better. It would be, then everything would be the same footing, and otherwise, David, I'm gonna have to come run you down sometime to get something signed at some point probably, otherwise, so.
And I believe Phil Norris, the commissioner representative from Brunswick County.
Yep, he's getting off in
does a
December,
wonderful
though.
job along with you.
But he's gonna be there till December.
Since we have a little latitude with these, I'll be willing to I'd like to make the motion to have Mr. Tate serve on that board, represent us.
Have a motion and a second to appoint Mr. Tate.
Second.
Motion and second by Mr. McCoy. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
All
Thank
right.
you, Ms. Pridgeon and Mr. Hall.
Well, thank you, and the committee assignments will be on the way.
Remember our conversation. I'm glad, sir. Thank you.
They didn't,
Mr. Chairman,
they
No,
didn't move,
the
make a
original-
motion to,
Well, I make
on the
a-
original.
Oh,
we'll make
yeah,
that
I-
motion.
Yeah, we got to go back to, on the original
Item number
item.
18.
On the original item.
I'll make the motion to amend the appointment from a 2-year term to a 3-year term,
Yes.
as is stated in item
Second.
number 18.
Motion second for item number 18. All in favor? Thank you. We were just excited about having a willing board participant.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to go to items from the county attorney, county manager, and county commissioner. I think we have just a couple of,
Just a couple of, I'm sorry.
attorney first.
I'm sorry.
just at first.
No, no.
Mr. Chairman, we have some items for closed session when it becomes appropriate.
No.
Items 3, 4, and 6.
Got the note there, Mr. Mr. Murphy.
Just a couple items to bring to your attention. There had been some mention of the formation of a liaison group from the commissioners to periodically receive reports from the auditor on the progress of the audit. And just to kind of get that going, I was going to suggest, if the board were agreeable, that perhaps the chairman and the vice chairman serve as that liaison, and so that I could inform the auditor of that and get a process in motion. It's not in any way a formal committee or anything of that sort, but just kind of your two representatives to the auditing team.
I think that's a great idea.
It's a very good idea. I've talked to the LGC before and also talked to some other commissioners, and there's quite a, we're of the size now and the type of business that's going on that I think we don't need to do things the same old way. So I certainly, or whoever was sitting here, would hopefully, in the future, would hopefully want us to do the same thing.
We'll also notify the auditor and get a process set up, kind of a formal process for making sure you guys are periodically informed of progress and made aware of any problems in the development of the audit. I know Alan has been, Mr. Chairman, has been contacting you by email periodically, but this will be just a little bit more formalized kind of a process, and include the vice chairman as well. The only other thing I have to bring to your attention is I will be mailing out probably later in the week some ideas for the development of a legislative package for the board to consider prior to the upcoming legislative session. So I'll be getting that out to you, and I'll also be seeking input from the department heads tomorrow on any legislation that might affect their particular areas or needed legislation or proposed legislation. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Tate.
I just wanted to thank the board and all of you, because as I hear, as you mentioned with the building inspector position, you hear from people occasionally who utilize those services. Well, throughout the district, I hear a lot about folks who interact with folks at the health department and DSS, And I saw Dr. Shiver as I was coming back in just a few moments ago, and I said the same thing to her. You know, it's really good to know that we approve those income maintenance caseworkers and their salary increase. While it may seem diminutive to us, those people serve a lot of people every day who may not be the happiest people when they come in the doors. And also with the decision that always made, and they, to my knowledge, have been very, very professional in their delivery of the people. I rarely ever, hardly, I don't think I ever get a call for someone's complaining about the behavior or someone back to them over at DSS or the health department. So I just wanted to thank Dr. Shiver as well as Ms. Mosier. If you would relay that from one commissioner to staff members, that really great to know that when our pop lists are served and served with gratitude. So I said it to Dr. Shiver, and I'm saying it to you. Thank you all for, and please share that with your staff. Those are my comments.
Thank you for sharing that, Commissioner Tate. Commissioner McCoy?
Got a few things I want to go over. First of all, I'd say the Walmart in Burgaw has started. They started last week, and that's a win-win for Pender County, another Walmart, and for the growth of Pender County. I also served on the Cape Fear RPO with Mr. Brown, and we had a meeting recently about some priorities lists that are coming up for Pender County. Of course, I feel like we never get all the things we wanted, but we've got some things that are, I'm sure these with you, the priorities are the roundabout in Burgaw. That's assured it's going to be constructed. That was a priority. That's $625,000 that was approved. Also, I'm a big pusher of that 27 miles of rail connector through Pender County, and it's been assigned a higher priority than it was before. So that's going to be a big thing for Pender County. Right now there's a study going on there, and also so a lot of people are behind. I think the state ports, it's really important for the region that rail connector get completed. Also, the Wallace Airport, the airport, at Wallace is in Pender County, edge of Pender County. And so the priority here is to relocate the road, the Wallace Airport Road, and to allow for the extension of runway 9 to 5,050 feet, and Henderson Field in Wallace. So that'd be another big thing for Pender County industrial development. And also, of course, the Surf City Bridge is already, it's been set approved. I think construction was started in 2016, Surf City Bridge.
Mr. McCoy, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're doing things a little differently now from what I can understand. They're not separating like ferry, rail service, highway, airports. It's all getting kind of put together in one group, and it's more of a competition for the funds than it used to be.
Yeah.
It's, you no longer have a set amount of money going to highway and a set amount going to ferry. It's just all being brought together. Right. So a little different way of doing business complicates things a bit, I think, but I guess they see an advantage to it. But it's when I was looking at that and I was going through that, I wasn't aware that they had put all that together, and I'm saying, why have they got the airport on here? You know, but
that's the way it works now in the point system, the way it works.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Brewer is very familiar with that point system, and I'm probably not the only critic of that point system out there.
I'm going to bring that up at another meeting, because it really, the point system, how it's going to really affects the MPO to a very negative way of the amount of weight you get at the local, state versus federal point scheme.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, just real quick, as a member and support of the U.S. Highway 17 Association, I do sit on the board of directors for that, and Mr. Finlayson has really been active in this, and that organization, we're kind of in a pivotal process right now, but we're going to be really looking at this, what they call STI, or Surface Transportation Investments, and how these are scoring, and through the next round of prioritization, because we are getting really hammered with the urban areas getting the bulk amount of these transportation dollars, and it's really hurting us right now. So
if you go up the I-85 corridor and then cut over to Raleigh, that's where the money's going.
Sure.
From Charlotte up and over.
Oh yeah, and if
that's where it's all going.
If you ever want any information or need any information, just let me know. I withhold a plethora of things that I could forward on to you, so.
That's why they made the change.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted to
I
have.
want to take politics out of road building is one of the things, but we'll remain to be seen.
Sure.
And the MPO, since we're on this, the MPO had to vote on it last Wednesday.
Yes,
We met.
yes.
I just couldn't, even though I understand the process and what
Yes.
the MPO had to do, I just could not bring myself to vote for it because it just
Absolutely.
doesn't sit well with what it's done at Highway 17 bypass. But
Absolutely.
I've been assured by our representatives that it's not over, but the first round just, it's broken, I
Sure.
think.
It
Absolutely.
frustrates me. I see a more complicated process than what we used to have. It may have had politics in it, but this is a complicated process. It's a maze of things to go through, in my opinion.
It'll be important for us to get our input to the committee that's been formed to look at SPOT 4.0, which will be adopted in 2 more years, to assure that, you know, some of the things that will benefit Pender County and other counties in eastern North Carolina really are included in that, so.
Could we have a meeting, could all meet with Senator Raven, you know, he's Senate Finance, I mean, on the transportation chairman, so, get all meet with, I'm willing to do that, get all meet with him one day, and
I'm sure he'd be more than willing. He communicates quite regularly. I'm sure he'd be more willing to come.
Thank you, Chairman.
Don't go too far. Mr. Ward? Mr. Brown? Oh, well, I guess I should have said stay. While you're up there and we're talking about the DOT, I just want to, been in communication with the town manager of Burgall, and like them, they had a sidewalk project, and then, of course, earlier this calendar year, we announced sometime over last winter, Safe Routes to School project over in Eastern Pender, of course, a project here in Burgall, but they're both part of discretionary spending. And Kyle can get in that a little bit, but basically, want to know if you folks would be amenable to a joint resolution or a joint letter with us in the town of Burgall asking for some movement on these 2 projects, if you will. But it's basically part of it's discretionary, and it needs to go to directly to Raleigh, to the assistant, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. The House side and the Senate side both have the discretionary funding, which typically funnels through the speaker on the Senate side. And I can't particularly speak about the Burgall project, but for example, the Safe Routes to School project, that is to connect North Topsail Elementary to Kiwanis Park with a multi-use path. It's about a 1/4 mile project, but has a really great potential to connect those 2 facilities. We were awarded the $500,000 grant, federal grant, Pender County was, but there's a need for the contingency funds from our legislators, and if we do not get those funds before the end of the calendar year, which is coming right up around the corner, then the project goes away, even though we were awarded the maximum amount for that project. So
yeah, we scored as high as you can. And like I said, I know less about the Burgall project than I do the other projects involved with that. But you know, not only does it connect the school and the park, it also promotes the interconnectivity between the neighborhoods around them.
Absolutely, and is a wonderful catalyst for future bike and ped facilities in those areas. So.
Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome.
So is anybody objecting to Mr. Murphy and Chad and I kind of coming up with a letter asking about that?
sounds good to me.
Here, none. Okay, we'll get on that. I'll let Chad know that. Audio visual. We need it fixed. I'm tired of fumbling around various things with one time the PowerPoint, one time this. You know, we need to get the audio visual in this room fixed. I'm not looking to throw anybody under the bus, but they're filling it up with fuel right now. So we don't need to be stumbling through stuff. People at home probably trying to watch this streaming. You know, people sitting here need to see what we see. You know, the presentations, so please fix it. Tomorrow, Mr. Murphy and I are going to meet with Dr. Cobb and Chair Rouse from the Board of Education. I've already got a few speaking dates or presentation dates on the calendar with the bond groups asking me to come, and I'm sure the rest of you will in your districts as well, to come and talk about the bond and maybe give a presentation at least. So we're gonna put our heads together and try to come up with a PowerPoint, but certainly it'd be one that anybody's welcome to, or they can change it, modify it, whatever, but we're gonna do that late, 10 o'clock tomorrow, 10:30?
10 o'clock.
And I'll let you know how it goes. I'm making my first presentation to a group tomorrow. And then another school has asked me to come speak about it. And of course, I extended the invitation to any of the fellow, if the BOE member from that district wants to accompany me, then I have offered that as well.
Who will be attending, who will be speaking?
Right now, I'm the only one going tomorrow, okay? I would assume there'll be a Board of Education member that probably comes to South Topsail when I go there, okay? Tomorrow, I'm speaking with a group of realtors. It'll just be myself as far as I know. So I wanted to cover that. We covered the letter there. That's all I have for right now.
You may want to consider talking to Dennis Boyles before you go to that, because I was over there today talking to him about something else, and that subject came up about the referendum. I think politicians, whether it's Board of Education, commissioners, have to be very careful and how they can share information. But I didn't know whether you had actually talked to him about this or not. I wasn't even aware of all the restrictions on that, so it might be helpful for all board members to actually contact Dennis Boyles over there, and he can probably share those election rules with you.
That won't apply with where I'm doing tomorrow.
No, I don't know that it will. I'm just saying.
I go speak, but however, it may apply to the South Topsail group because it's a school facility. And you're right, the schools have to be careful about the resources that they use to promote the bonds. I know they can't send anything home. So yeah, that's a good point.
You cannot use taxpayer resources to promote or a pro or con on the referendum. You can use resources to get information out.
Right.
So it's one of those of, you can't say vote for this, yes or no, whichever way you would be inclined to do so, but you can get information out. And but yes, you do, to follow up on Commissioner Brown's statement, you have to be careful, and there also become issues of, where is that line, and, what information is shared. I mean, that's so I think coming up with sort of an agreed upon presentation is an excellent idea, Mr. Chairman, to allow there to be consistency, and so people aren't saying, oh, person A told me it was only going to cost 2 cents if we pass this bond, or whatever the, representation might be.
I would caution the school board members to also
yes, sir.
Check into this.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking who was going to be speaking, because I was going to be requesting a copy of that tape to review it myself for the content. I knew of that. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I understand that. I will ask, but just be myself tomorrow, but I will ask with that PTO member that contacted me, I'll ask about that, Mr. Tate.
If that's it, I'll make the motion for the closed session.
No,
I'm agreeing. Yeah, because I was going to get out of here by 6 o'clock tonight.
Not yet. We'll do a lightning round.
You ready for the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question to
go
ask,
ahead.
and I didn't ask this earlier, but I've got some information that I didn't have at that time. I couldn't bring up on my phone email. Do we have solar farms in Pender County currently?
I would defer to Mr. Brewer. I don't know whether we have any in place.
I'm not asking you to speak to anything specifically. Sure. Okay, I'm just asking.
To my knowledge, we do not have any
Solar farms.
physical on-the-ground solar farms.
Does a solar farm in Pender require
Absolutely. Off the top of my head, I know if they are allowed, they're probably allowed in our general industrial, and that might be allowed by right, but then in our RA, I believe, they're probably allowed with a special use permit.
So if you have a farm that's zoned RA and a solar farm company wants to locate on it, you have to get it rezoned?
No, you would have to apply for a special use permit.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
before this
sir.
board.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And that
I'm
was,
just trying to gather some clarity
yeah,
here.
but, yeah.
I'm like you, we put a lot of miles behind the windshield, and I've seen a few more of them pop up last few years.
Well, I saw in the paper yesterday, that somebody's considering that in Pender County.
Okay,
It was, it said one here now.
that's
but there
true.
was-
That's true.
Was it Willard's?
I'm with you. I think I,
Motion to go in closed session, Mr. Brown.
What? No, that's okay. I'll talk to you later on this. I won't delay this anymore. But remind me, it's about these metal structure carports. Yeah, these metal structures that you see these folks selling. You know, I've had some folks ask me some questions about that. I'll get with you later. Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to go in closed session under items 3, 4, and 6.
Have a motion.
And I'm also making a motion not last more than 5 minutes.
I don't know if we can honor that.
Second to that.
We have 4 seconds on that one. All in favor, please raise your hand. We're in closed session. I guess I heard Mr. Tate's voice.